Wacko Backo, and Hot Tamale.
Unlearned podcast. Today, Junior.
All right, man, we rolling, brother. We rolling. Appreciate you coming on to the show, Doctor Butler. You's a doctor.
Hey man, it's a privilege to be able to be here, man. Everybody don't get a chance to come by and check out the Unlearned podcast.
The Unlearned podcast, man.
Yeah.
Well, man, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, this man is not only one of my best friends. He is a entrepreneur, a father, a pastor, a husband, and he is doing all of those things on a high level. He's got so many different levels, sub-levels inside of each one of them categories that he's doing, and helps so many people. Every time I come to his church, he's preaching a sermon where I joke with him and say that the ladies and the old women are throwing the tambourines at the back of the and the Martin Luther King fans up on the stage.
Yeah, he's always saying that.
Got dents in the drywall right now for all the tambourines that's done hit it. Man, but brother, I'm so glad to have you part of the podcast, man. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. William P. Butler Sr.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here. I'm excited about the podcast, and I like the fact that that content is so practical. It's just down to earth. You can just be yourself and just talk about things, and even in the midst of all the accolades, when you peel all those onions back, people are just people.
People are people.
They got same problems, same issues. Everybody want to be loved. Everybody need to be able to earn an income. We have loved ones we care about. We all got a soul. We hopefully everybody want to go to heaven.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about.
So what'd you bring us for breakfast this morning, man?
Man, I brought Kellogg's Raisin Bran. Crunch.
Okay,
Got the
Raisin
Crunch
Bran.
The Crunch brand, yeah.
Okay.
The Crunch has got a little special something to it.
So that's what you eat every morning, or?
Most mornings I actually do oatmeal. I just got in the habit of that. That was my thing. You remember that. We did years of oatmeal. But when I choose cereal, that's my go-to.
Yeah.
And the crunch part kind of resists the sogginess for a long time.
Let's do it, man.
Well, that's good stuff.
Man, let's do a cereal toast, man, to an awesome podcast, brother.
Oh yeah.
Let's see what this oatmeal Raisin Crisp is talking. Well, so
yeah, it's got.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you got to make sure a raisin is inside of there, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This reminds me of a cereal called Oatmeal Raisin Crisp, and then they went out of business I don't know, years back, and then all of a sudden I started seeing Raisin Bran kind of hijack what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is good.
There's a thought process. When you study the patterns of wealth management called the billionaire way. Now, when you look at it, smart people create things. They say people who are really, 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 really intelligent in finance, they say they steal. But the billionaire way, you look at Warren Buffett, he just bought like 1,000 people's other successful companies. And then he just capitalized on what it is they capitalize on. And he was notorious for buying their companies and then leaving the core structure and the workers there so that they could do what they love to do, and he could profit from the surplus. And Bill Gates, right? Mm-hmm. He actually acquired DOS, which is a program that he didn't write, and then he capitalized on IBM's scrap product, turned it into Windows.
Yeah,
became the richest man in the world for over a decade. So
that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So being able to recognize the gifts, knowledge, talents, abilities in other people, man, is like the way to go. And so Raisin Bran's been bought over. Matter of fact, that same thing is the reason why the English language is so jacked up. Have you ever wondered why we got so many things that can mean the same stuff? Which is which.
Yeah.
Where, and where. Mm-hmm. It's like because England had been taken over multiple times, and every time they was taken over by a different country, they brought in their language, added it to the previous language, and now you got two words that can be used or spelled differently. It's crazy. And so now that we have an English populated country, you know, we just, you know, that same process. Our whole financial system was adopted from England. They're a little small island, but most people don't know that England has owned 90% of every single country in the world.
Don't say the world. The world?
World. 90%. They don't own that now,
Yeah.
but they have owned 90% of the world.
How do you get to a place to where you go, because I'm sure the people, the inhabitants of, say, somewhere in India, they don't know anything about England at the time.
Not a thing.
So how can England come in and say that they own something that these people don't even know?
It's the art of war. So what they do is they sneak in. They go into a country and they find all these special spices and things that they have, and they bring them to India. And India is now seeing stuff that they've never seen in their local group. And they take those things and say, yeah, we're going to be coming by here every week. Come by here and get this. And they're like, oh, man. And that becomes the hub.
Yeah.
So every place that they went into, they financially created a market.
So they're just making hubs everywhere.
Hubs everywhere. And then they used the leverage that they had to gain influence over the leadership there. And that's how they started influencing the natives and wound up taking over the country. They're doing the same thing in Africa right now. China's doing it.
With very minimal military needed.
Yeah, no military.
Wow.
Yeah, if you put a frog in hot water, he'll jump out. But if you warm up the water a little bit at a time, he'll stay there and cook.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we used to talk all the time about business strategy and stuff, and one of my favorite sayings is if water drips in concrete, it'll put a hole after a while. You know, if it drips long enough, it'll put a hole in it.
It will.
Yeah, that's what they've been doing, man. It's nuts.
Hey, before I forget, real quick, I just want to switch gears for just a second and tell you about one of the best media companies in East Tennessee. Listen, there's this group called Knoxspot Media, and they're responsible for so many of the graphic designs, the websites, video editing that you see locally. And I'm telling you, man, they are really good. So whether it's podcast, apps, databases, video stuff, websites, or graphics, Knoxspot Media is one of the best in the industry. And they're literally right around the corner. They give free estimates on every one of their services. So if you call them, you tell them that you watched a podcast, they may even give you a free media sample. So visit Knoxspot.com for your free consult today. All right, I had to say it. Let's get back to the topic. So, we're going to get into a lot of different stuff today.
Okay.
You know, and we're here. There's no time limit. So you just said, and I know your story.
Yeah.
But not a lot of people know. They see you as a pastor, but they see you also as a business person, but they don't know Dr. Butler, William Butler, growing up. What was little Will like?
Yeah.
You know, what was your upbringing? Because I know it was rough.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
Yeah, so like start at the beginning there and just kind of walk us through what that looked like.
So I'm from Texas. So
Okay.
I was born into already a family that already had 3 kids. My mother was kind of like the black sheep of the family. You know, back in the day, you know, you just didn't get pregnant at 15.
Yeah.
You know, you just didn't do that.
Yeah,
You know, now
right.
it's commonplace. You know, it's just it's Monday. You know, but back then you didn't do that. But so she not only had one marriage, but by the time I came along, she was on a second marriage by my father, who was also a unstable man. And just to give you a little bit of background, my mother, she dropped out of school.
Yeah.
And she fell in love with a light-skinned guy and wanted to marry him.
There's something about them light skins.
There's something about them light skins. I don't know. And you know, he had that Native American thing, and she was dark skinned,
Yeah.
but she was also had some Native American in her.
Okay.
And she, you know, and he was so in love with her. And, and you know, so they had 2 kids, but he developed such a drinking problem that it just ripped him apart. So she divorced him, and then here comes my dad. And the story of my dad is kind of weird because my dad's William Butler.
Okay.
And so I have a middle name. My middle name's Paul. So
Okay.
the people that knew me in elementary school and my siblings sometimes would call me by my middle name, Paul.
Okay.
And those are the only people that ever do it.
Right.
So my dad was supposed to have been working in California, like for the police department.
Yeah.
He's married to he's a black guy married to a white lady.
Right.
They have a son.
He was a pioneer then.
Yeah. And they have a son. He had a son named Darren.
Okay.
And one day, now this is what was told to me by him because my mom and my dad both did now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my family don't live long at all. But he's told her, yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna go for a drive. And yeah, they never saw him again.
Wow.
He left from California, dude wound up in Texas.
Baby, I'll be back. I'm gonna go to the store. Y'all need anything?
Never saw him again.
Wow.
And he winds up in Texas and talking to my mother, chasing her.
Yeah.
Came to the church where she was visiting, and she was trying to get church, together and stuff.
Yeah.
Said he was Minister Butler.
Minister Butler had a whole family looking for him.
Looking for him.
Have you seen him?
He probably was on the. He probably, I don't know. They probably had like those missing. Have you seen me missing things?
Yeah. Yeah.
They looking for him. And
Yeah,
yeah,
he do
went
that
in
back
Texas.
in that time because there's no internet. There's no, easy way to call people and say, hey, yeah, he's right up the street.
Yeah, it was the
he's been up the
60s.
street for the past 6 weeks.
Yeah, they didn't have none of that back then. You
Wow.
know, so everything was state bound. So once if you did something bad enough, you just go to a different state, and then they had no
Like
record
going
of
to
it.
another country.
It was. It
Wow.
was. And so he came there, met my mother, and
Yeah.
and my mother had that. I guess she got caught up with him, and before you knew it, they was married, and she had my brother, and then she wanted another daughter. So her second kid was a daughter, and she told me, yeah, I wanted to keep going until I had a daughter. So I said, so you telling me I was an accident?
Mistake down by the lake.
Mistake down by the lake. And she was like, well, you weren't an accident. You're a great kid. I wanted another daughter. And I was like, so my baby sister would have came right before me, right?
Yeah.
So my mother, she had my older brother. 9 months later, go in for her checkup. She pregnant again with me, right? 9 months later, go back in for the checkup. She pregnant with my baby sister. So all three of us spend 2 months every year sharing each other's birthday.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah, so it's
Wow.
crazy. But so that was the stuff I was
That was
born
how
into.
it got started.
Yeah, so my dad, he had this roving thing where he was a creator, inventor, all that kind of stuff. Really, really popular. So he decided he wanted to strike on entrepreneurial path, and he wanted to do something that he had control over his income. So he joined with Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Really?
Became just a salesman.
Okay.
He started flying through the ranks. He started revolutionizing ways that he could do routes and reach more people. And before you know it, he got working at the branch office. And then he went over to the manufacturing wing and found out what they were doing there. Came up with awesome improvements for their manufacturing.
Oh, wow.
Like he just had an idea for finding ways to make it work. And all of those enhancements landed him where he became a regional manager.
Okay. For
And
Mary
so,
Kay.
Mary Kay.
And this is like back in the day
Back in the
before they
day.
really blew up like that.
Yeah, it's like he was killing it. And so 1970, 1971, I mean, dude, if, you making 47 grand a year, you killing it.
Yeah.
And that's what he was doing. And, we're staying in a 2-bedroom apartment, and he's hanging out with these other guys, and they're indoctrinating him to the wildlife, and he's starting to drink, get hooked up into drugs and all that kind of stuff. And next thing you know, I have some ladies. First time I was a kid, probably about 3 years old, and I see this dark-skinned woman, super dark-skinned. First time I seen a really dark-skinned girl with red hair in the 70s. You don't see that.
No.
She knocks on the door, puts her hand on her hip, and I remember she was very shapely. And my mother's in there cooking fish. And she goes in there and tells my dad, William, you got somebody at the door, and just goes back in there cooking fish.
Oh.
My dad goes outside,
Yeah.
right? he looks at me. He looks at her. He's shocked when he looked at her. Looked back at me and then pulls the door closed real slowly.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I heard a bunch of beating. Boom, 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 boom. Ah! And all this. He comes back in.
Yeah.
He comes back in. I'm playing with my truck in the middle of the living room floor.
Yeah.
Comes back in. Close the door, and he's mad because she found out that he had a family.
Oh my gosh.
So he gets mad.
This is another woman altogether.
There's another woman altogether.
Okay.
He gets mad, punches the door. Door hurts his hand. He gets mad at the door and runs it with his elbow. It puts a dent in the door, right?
Right.
Hurts, messes up his elbow, rolls on the ground, rolling around. Oh. And my mom says, yeah, fish be ready in a minute.
Meanwhile, you still playing in the living room with the truck.
So we had a whole bunch of really bad stuff that was going on, and over time, it got to be too much, and they just kind of grew apart. My mom was getting into the church, bringing me to church when I was a kid, so they got divorced when I was 4.
Okay.
So my mother goes from trying to create a structured household. She now wants to get out of the wild life, settle down. My dad's got all this money, and now he's ready to go.
Yeah. And are you affected at this point, or do you even know what's going on?
I'm just absorbing. Okay. Like I'm not really feeling a lot of the effects of it until they get divorced.
Okay.
When they get divorced, my mom now has to work like 2 jobs. My dad's like, I'm never paying child support. I'm out. So we don't see him. Don't even know where he is. He's off the map.
Wow.
Yeah. So he got everything in somebody else's name. He's one of those guys. I don't trust the government. He does his own thing.
Yeah.
So my childhood was weird. So now I have a latchkey childhood. We didn't have enough money to earn food, so we were hungry all the time. So my mother got paid every 2 weeks, and we only had enough money to last 10 days. So we had 4 days of no food. We were struggling.
Oh, wow.
Really struggling.
So what did y'all just didn't eat?
We pretty much, we just didn't have enough food to eat. And we would starve for about 2 or 3 days, every 2 weeks. And it was really, really hard. And I remember us, starving, and it had an effect on me. Even today, because I learned how to cope with not having food when I wanted it, I learned how to, if I don't eat, most people, if they don't eat, they get hunger headaches. I don't get those.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't get them. If I have food to eat, I eat. If I don't have it, I just don't have it, and it doesn't bother me at all. So now I'm thrown into this unstructured world of, not a parent not being there because my mother has to work so hard to support 5 kids.
Right.
So my mother overall was married 5 times before she died. Right?
Wow. Okay.
My dad wound up having 21 kids before he died.
Wow.
Yeah. But the side effects of not having structure in the home just affected me terribly. And then so I had, boy curiosities. I started experiment with cigarettes when I was like 9. I started drinking when I was 10. Because after the divorce, my mother just stopped going to church.
So was she working and just didn't see you smoking and drinking and all that stuff?
I did all that behind her back. Well, not the drinking part. So my every family has their vices, and my family's vice was just alcohol. And so especially on special occasions, they didn't mind if they saw a kid trying to take a sip here and there and stuff like that. And that's bad parenting, but it was just something that we got used to. And so I wanted to be that. I started looking at the people. We were living in really impoverished locations, poor spaces. It was really, really hard. We started living in homeless shelters.
Oh, wow.
We lived
So what was that like? Like an actual homeless shelter?
Yeah, I remember the first time we went there. It was a place called Dallas Life Foundation. It's still open today. And back then, they just had a big open auditorium, and they gave you a cot just on the floor, and you were assigned a square. And so my mother and all 5 kids were sleeping there with like 100 other people. That was in a big room. And so you would all kind of cuddle together. And if you were a parent, you would try to wrap your clothing around your kids, and hopefully don't nothing bad happen that night. Just stuff like that. And you know,
So how long did that last for?
yeah, that lasted I don't know, for about 4 or 5 months. Just that one incident, and we had, but that was a safer place. She had to apply for it, and she got a chance to get like a little cubicle room.
Yeah.
So there was like the walls didn't have a floor, didn't have a ceiling, but you was in one room, and they put us all in there. Since we had 5 kids and a mother, we had 2 beds.
And how long did that go on for?
And that went on for about 4 or 5 months, and then we nomaded around. We'd go from friends to friends, stay at houses, different people. Excuse me. And sometimes we stay in homeless. In like vacant apartments if we were stuck in between, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Most of the time we would stay with a friend and we would just say, yeah. So we start calling these friends, their kids, our cousins and stuff like that. And it just affected us. So our lifestyle was pretty harsh. In the summers, so we never missed a day of school because that was where we ate.
Right.
You know, we had breakfast and lunch at school, and my mother really just, make beans or something like that. We have like 1 meal a day.
Yeah.
That's how it's rough. So in the summers, I would go to my great grandfather's house and work on his farm.
So did they not have like food stamps and housing, like government housing and stuff?
Man, I was a food stamp kid.
Yeah.
Oh, I was a food stamp kid. We not these Lone Star cards and these 10-karat cards and stuff they have now.
Yeah.
No,
the
we had
actual stamps.
the Liberty Bells. Yeah. We had those. The papers.
Yeah.
Dude, I got allowances on food stamps.
It was happy.
I got happy.
Yeah. Now, did you know that it was a struggle at the time? Did you know that you guys were in that bad a shape as a kid, or was it one of those you look back at it and you're like, man, we was really poor, or we was really bad off? Is that something that you were aware of at the time?
It was really hard at the time. It was very difficult. It was very harsh. It was very heavy, but some kind of way we just accepted it as that's how life was. And for a very long time, until I was like in college, I thought everybody had gone through something similar.
Wow.
Yeah.
So kind of speeding up, and there's going to be, because I know you've been stabbed, you've been kidnapped, you've been shot.
Yeah.
Talk about that for just a little bit, because the topic, and we can get into a bunch of different topics, but how to overcome hardships. And so for our listeners, having someone who's been through what you've been through, like, people would have literally no excuse to not know how to overcome some of this stuff after hearing some of the stuff that you've been through. So the kidnapping, the stabbings, getting shot, what happened with all that?
Well, when I was 10, I was hanging around some kids that was kind of loose kids, and seemed like their parents never watched them, and so I would get out early in the mornings, go do stuff, and I was a hustler, so I would go take out garbage for people. I'd run to the store for people. I would go pick up this, pick up that. I was an errand boy for the whole
neighborhood
complex, because we lived in projects,
Yeah.
And
I was about to say the neighborhood.
Yeah,
but
the neighborhood.
It's
yeah,
the complex.
It's like, the complex is what we call it.
Yeah.
So, and we would move from complex to complex everywhere. When I was a kid, it was a Saturday morning, and I wound up getting kidnapped. I was walking down the railroad on my way home from the store, and I got kidnapped. I got pushed into an old baby blue Dodson, old Dodson station wagon type thing, and I got taken way out into the suburbs, far, 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 far away.
Did you know who it was?
I didn't know who these people were, didn't know what the world was going on,
Okay.
and I was tortured for about a week.
Wow.
Yeah, I was tortured for about 4 days.
So what was
It was-
were they trying to like hold you ransom, or?
Well, I got attacked. They wound up cutting on me,
And how old were you?
torturing me. I was 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 10. And they wound up cutting me, and I was cut. All of my legs especially was really, really cut up really, really bad. I got tortured. I got molested. I got threatened that I was going to be killed multiple times, and I tried to escape 3 times. The first time I tried to escape, They tied me up and beat me.
Wow.
And just beat me.
Were these like other black people, or are they?
Yeah, it was like a mixed guy. He was like the one that was running the whole thing.
Okay.
And
do they have like other kids that they were kidnapping too, or is it just you? Or
yeah, I could tell. I mean, now that I do counseling and stuff, I can tell that there's no way that a person could be that bold. That they have been doing that for a long time. You can tell.
Yeah.
And they probably were bouncing around from city to city and kidnapping kids. Right now, just the girls in the United States, we have 70,000 girls that are missing right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I tried to escape. Second time, I was unsuccessful. But the third time, I calculated. And I saw there was like, I was like in between. It was almost like there was a building that was made under a bridge, and the bridge had ramps on it, and there was a triangle glass that was broken. And even though it was small, I was like, I'm gonna get through that with
Yeah.
I'm gonna get through that. And I just concentrated on that, on everything else that ever happened. And I fought that, and I never forget, I was running. I saw opportunity. I took off running, and they were running after me. And I jumped through that window, and when I jumped through that window, the glass cut me at the waist and started carving through my legs. And they grabbed me by my shirt, and I had some short pants on, and you wasn't gonna catch me. Yeah. I shot through there so hard they ripped half of my shirt, half of my pants was totally ripped completely off.
Wow.
I was running through the forest naked.
Wow.
I went straight into the woods, and I just kept running for about 30 minutes.
Kunta style.
Gone. You was not gonna catch me.
Golly.
I went in there and I found a hiding space. And
Okay.
and the thing is, like, you know, me and my brothers and sisters, we used to play hide and go seek. If I was hiding, you wasn't gonna catch me.
Right.
And those skills helped me. I went and found me a spot inside of a tree trunk.
Yeah.
And the way that tree trunk looked so small, you wouldn't think a person could fit in it. Dude, I stayed there, I don't know how long.
Yeah.
And I stayed
Did
there.
they come looking for you? Could you?
I knew that they was looking for me, but I knew I couldn't stay there forever.
Right.
But I just stayed there for about a day. And then I wasn't going nowhere because I was terrified. And then the next morning, I'll never forget, I was cold, I was tired, I was hungry, and the sun was coming up, and I prayed for the first time.
Wow.
On my own.
Now, before we get to that, how long did they have you kidnapped for?
About 4 days.
Okay, so did they feed you, or did?
It wasn't fed, it just giving me water. That's it.
Yeah,
That was
wow.
it. Just water.
So you're still in the tree at this point,
Yeah.
and that's the first time you say you prayed.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
It was it was probably one of the most sincere prayers I ever prayed in my life.
I bet I can only imagine. I can't imagine.
Yeah. I've heard it been said that storms only come for perfecting you or correcting you, and sometimes both. And I'm telling you, nothing can knock away all of the nonsense like going through some stuff like that.
Right.
And when I prayed to God and asked God to help me, it was sincere. Like I felt like I was gonna die if he didn't answer this prayer.
Jeez.
It was that sincere. Like, I prayed so hard, I cried so much that I had no more water in my body. I was dehydrated. I had no more water to cry.
Wow.
And I prayed, and for the first time, and right after I prayed, I heard, I mean, it was like 30 seconds, I heard an 18-wheeler go by. Now, I couldn't see it, but I heard it go by, all the way echoed into the woods where I was at.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know, I had no orientation, and I focused towards where the sound was coming from. And when I finally decided to get out, I just made a beeline in that direction. And I just kept going. And now you got this 10-year-old kid, right?
Right.
I was shorter than normal 10-year-old kids because I was malnourished at the time. And so I'm sitting there on a bridge, balled up, and no cars are coming by. And the very first car, I was probably there maybe 10 minutes. The longest 10 minutes of my entire life. It teaches you patience too. An undercover cop pulled up and said, "Hey, you okay?" And he rescued me.
Wow.
And that's how that did something to me and forced me to get to a point to where I never wanted to have to rely on everybody else for everything.
So did you tell them what happened?
Told them everything that happened.
Did they go and get the kidnappers?
Never found them.
Wow.
Never found them. They never found them. Went over. I explained everything to them. They took all my report. They did all this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Brought me home to the projects, and I don't even know if they really followed up very well. They was like, "Well, he's not dead.
Yeah.
You know, he was just bloody and stuff, and in shock and all that." They didn't even bring me to the hospital.
So when you got home, that's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
But when you got home, like, what was that like? Did everyone at that point? I'm sure your folks were worried about you. Your family was worried about you.
They were. I think they were worried, but my family was a very awkward family, and they didn't know. I don't think they knew how to counsel each other very well, because this. I just thought about this a year ago for the first time in my life, and I'm 49.
Yeah.
It didn't dawn upon me, but I thought back about this, and I recall no one ever talked to me or counseled me about that.
Wow.
My mom, my dad, my sisters.
They didn't get you no mental health,
Nobody.
no counseling.
Nobody.
Just let's get back to normal.
I went into 6 years of depression, and would wind up getting into all this different stuff, getting arrested twice, and trying to kill myself twice at 15.
Wow.
Before I accepted Christ and started changing my life in all these areas, and I didn't realize just how broken that experience had me, but it had me to a point to where my expectations of other people dropped way low. And I wanted to make sure that I could learn how to do anything I was able to do, because I wanted to be self-reliant, I wanted to be resilient, and I wanted to be able to take care of myself. So I started working out, and I started taking martial arts.
So
and
this
I started
at
boxing.
what age is this at this point?
I was still 10 at the time, and so I started working out at 10, and I would go over and hang out at this gym. They had a free gym. It was pretty much an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment project that they just put some weights in there.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want these hard dudes coming out of jail hanging around the store no more. So they told them, "Well, why don't y'all buy some weights and we'll let them put them in this room."
Yeah.
So I had to wait till all the big guys got done, and then they let us go do, let the kids get in there, do their thing. And I go work out, and I learned how to box. I learned martial arts, and I learned how to work out. And I worked out for everywhere I went. That became my way. I would study people's behavior. I would study their mindset, and I prepare myself.
Right.
And everywhere I went, I was always ready for somebody to attack me all the time.
So did you ever have to use it?
A few times. But the problem was I had developed such a compassion for people that I wanted to help people more than hurt them.
Yeah.
So I had bullies that would mess with me, and I would be afraid of them. But one bully in particular, he bullied me, picked on my brothers, picked on my family, talked bad about me, did all this kind of stuff, And I saw him messing with a girl, and he tripped her down. She had on a white dress, and she fell in the mud. Lost it. And it wasn't just that bully; it was 5 of them.
Yeah.
Dude, I went over there and beat them like they stole something.
Kill Bill Volume 2 kicked in.
Lost it. Just lost it. I hate bullies.
Yeah.
I've always hated them. So all of my fights always went. Every fight that I've ever had has always been me coming to the defense or the rescue of another person.
That's okay.
Yeah, and I think that might have came from the fact that I was vulnerable, and I can identify with that vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talk about, and because now you're a pastor.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about at what point did you transition from, going through all that to be like, you know what, I'm going to lead a church.
Yeah.
But and then also you own a mental health facility. Actually, you own several.
Yeah.
We've owned one
Yeah.
together.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll get into that here in a little bit. But talk about, Just a second here. I lost my notes. We'll edit this part out. Okay, the notes blacked out on me.
Oh, it's okay.
So, overcoming hardships, that's kind of the subject matter for today. A person, obviously we've heard your story, some of it, and obviously tons of hardships that you've encountered. Yeah.
But overcoming them has a universal theme. Like I got used to having so many hardships. Like every time I look forward to something, it would not happen. Like, we had Christmases, but we didn't really get gifts. When I was a kid, 2 and 3 years old, we had gifts. After that, we didn't really get gifts. We couldn't afford them. And so my brothers and sisters of us would trade stuff. But when you go through hardships, there's 2 avenues you take. You either get bitter or you get better. And I learned how to analyze things because I spent a whole year not talking to anybody outside my immediate family when all this stuff happened to me. And during that time, I learned how to really, really be analytical and analyze the body language and behavior, because 90% of what you say doesn't come out your mouth.
Right.
So I learned how to learn from other people, and when I didn't like a feeling, I would try to figure my way through it. But I was only looking at the emotion I had that day. So it took me 6 years to really figure out how to get over it.
Right.
And the hardships just kept beating me down. Most people who are in hardships, they look for a feeling. They want to feel better. Well, that's not the way to really overcome all hardships. Now, because motivation by nature is temporary, right?
Yeah.
The word motivation comes from the word motive. Your motive that day might be this, but if you get hit with it and you're surprised, you haven't even formulated motive. You're being affected by the occurrence, and it's just going to hurt you. So you have to make up your mind that you're going to go forward, accomplish whatever you're going to accomplish, do what you got to do. Discipline will always trump motivation. So
that's good.
If you're disciplined, discipline is doing the right thing the right way at the right time, just because it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And so if you can develop that, you will start latching on. And that's what I was doing. I was building layers of discipline.
Yeah.
Once I had to analyze it. If I could guarantee that was a good thing, I focused on it and made myself do it, whether I wanted to or not. And that started doing things that changed the rest of my life. When I would go to my great-grandfather's house in the country in the summers, he worked us 7 days a week. We wake up at 5:30. We'll work it all day to about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night.
Right. So at what point did the switch flip for you? Like, you were going through all that stuff as a kid, and then at what point, I know you said you were doing the martial arts and working out. Is that when the switch kind of flipped to where you were like, okay, I'm starting to see what discipline looks like in a day-to-day application, or was it later on in life?
Yeah, that happened on accident. When I started working out and doing all that stuff, that was sheer fear and anger. I was like, I'm going to be ready. Nobody's ever going to hurt me. Nobody's ever going to do nothing to me. If they do, I feel sorry for them. Yeah. Like I was mad, and during this time, I had my first arrest at 7.
What'd you get arrested for, man?
And for theft. I was stealing food from my family.
No, man.
Straight arrested.
What was you doing? What'd you steal?
Oh man, I stole some bologna. I stole some candy and stuff. I had all kind of stuff.
How'd they catch you?
What happened was I had gone to the store, and I basically had modified my jacket. I cut the inside of my jacket so I could go and put food in there, and then I could walk on. And they had known that I had been doing this because I would go once a week.
To the same store.
To the same store.
Yeah.
And I thought I got away with it. And so when I came in there the next time, they was waiting on me. So they sprung a trap, and they was waiting on me, and I was pretty smooth, but they caught me and my brother, and I got thrown and got arrested. So that was the first time. The second time I got arrested, I was innocent, and I was 9 at the time. And this mixed in with the 10-year-old kidnapping, because I was seeing myself as wrong and the policeman as being an authority that I could trust.
Yeah.
But this time, the policeman, I was late for school, and this is bad. This is bad. But I'm walking to school. I'm late. Got off the city bus. I got about 5 miles to go. School's already started. I'm walking down the street. I'm crossing the street, and I find a pornography magazine.
Oh, wow.
On the ground.
Okay.
So, me and my brother,
Good reading materials.
We're boys. We just pick it up, start looking. We're walking on about our business and stuff like that. And then I was like, oh, there's a police, hey, we're going to ask him, give us a ride with the porno magazine in my hand. It's got tire tracks and stuff through it. And I go over, ask him. He's like, sure, hop in.
Yeah.
We get in the car. He's like, yeah, so why did you steal this magazine? I was like, what are you talking about? This thing's got tire tracks in it.
Yeah.
He drives past the park, throws the magazine in the garbage, scolds us for looking at the magazine, and then wrote us up and said we stole it.
Oh, man.
And something happened to me after I got kidnapped, really shortly after that I hated police. I hated them. I hated them when I was a kid. I don't now, but I didn't trust them. I didn't trust nobody at that point. And so I got to protect myself. And that's where a lot of that stuff started coming in. I was bitter first.
Yeah.
And then I started feeling more I took out my anger on something positive like exercise, and it started making me think about caring about people, how people need to be protected, how you need to look out for other people, and it became a lifestyle for me to always look out for other people. I started telling other young people, "Man, you need to come over here and work out, man. You need to," started happening. I started wanting to help other people some kind of way. And that kind of pulled me into a care that I didn't have. And I think that that's where the discipline came from. The working out, the boxing, it had a structure to it. And all the instructors, they would tell you, no, do this just like that. And I was very detail oriented. Yeah. So I went to the head of the class. But every time I would do well, we get kicked out of our project. So you move in the first day, you're all happy that month. Then the next month, your bills get late. Then the third month, your lights get cut off. And then the fourth month, they kick you out. Yeah. So by the time I graduated high school, I had 30 different places I had lived. 30.
Jesus.
So it was hard to keep it going. So whatever I learned, I practiced it no matter where I was.
So has it gotten to a place now, because you're 49 years old? Yeah. You own businesses, multiple businesses, and they're doing extremely well. So has hardship, how's that gave birth to the entrepreneurial spirit that you have right now? Yeah,
entrepreneurial work is the hardest business. It's the hardest work you could ever do.
Lord have mercy.
It is the hardest thing, and that's why most people don't do it. Most people don't know it's going to take 7 to 12 years of doing something that does not pay out. You have to be consistent, putting into a hole in the ground that looks like it would never fill, right? But if you continue to do any work and you constantly improve yourself for 7 to 12 years, you not only will secure that entrepreneurial venture, but you will become rich from it. Yeah. And that's across the board. You can look it up. And so that discipline helped me, because I learned how to go to school without having people pat me on the back. And when I was in school, that helped me, because I didn't have people showing up. I didn't have people check my report card.
What's your degrees in?
I didn't have all that.
Yeah. What's your
I have a degree in business. I have a degree in theology. Okay. I have a degree in computer networking technology. I have a double discipline in clinical counseling, and a doctorate in theology as well.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a lot.
Yeah. I dropped out when I was 15.
Yeah.
And
you dropped out of high school?
High school, 10th grade, beginning of my 10th grade year. I was my birthday's in June, so I was younger than everybody else going to school. So
what did your family say? Was it your decision? You just said I'm done with school, and they said okay?
I went to school. I just didn't get to school.
Okay.
And everybody else had pretty much dropped out. They was dropping out a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Okay.
And when your parents aren't there, is nobody to really correct it. And by the time you look around, it's too late.
So did your folks know that you dropped out, or they?
No.
Okay.
No, they didn't know in the beginning.
How long did you let that go for?
Oh man, I was probably a good 6 months.
Jeez.
Maybe, well, it wasn't quite 6 months. It was like through the first semester, so I'd say about 4 months. And I was getting in trouble a lot. I was in a gang, and my brother was too, and we was going around doing stuff. We was mugging people, taking stuff.
I can't even imagine that looking at you.
That's not my nature. But the issue was, if I'm when I commit myself to something, I'm gonna go all in.
Yeah.
And I have conscience. So people who have a conscience, you can't really do bad things. And I had a care for people, but I had a mission mind. So I took more of a technical mind to it. I became a strategist. And I found a way where I could do these bad things without harming people, right? So I went all Ocean's 11 with mine, you know? You know?
You was Frank Ocean.
Yeah, I was Frank Ocean. So I go over there and they be like, yeah, man, so what we going to do is this. And I was like, man, what about this? So you need to do this. And what about this? And
Yeah.
You know? And then, and in the midst of all of that, you know, the money was slow, and you splitting it with 21 people, and it's, you know, and then my mother's boyfriend was selling drugs, and the money was fast.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was like, I need to get more bang for my buck, so I started changing careers.
Yeah. made a career decision change.
So I started going in that direction and hanging out, and then I messed around and got saved. I saw a movie preview for a movie called The Seventh Sign with Demi Moore in it. Right. And I think it's Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. And some kind of way that movie triggered everything I ever heard about the Bible and the end of the world. And I got that in my head, and that analyzing thing kicked in.
Right.
And before you know it, I started eventualizing everything I was doing. Where is this going to lead? Where is that going to lead? Where is this going to lead? And it's not going to lead anywhere good. You know, if I die, what's going to happen to my soul? Like, I started thinking like that. And and then I had a dream. So I had this dream that I was in my living room, and there was a Bible and a cross. There was a Bible on my left side, a cross on my right side, and I was wanting to read the Bible because I was curious, but and the cross started glowing. It was glowing. And I was like,
literally
glowing, like it was illuminated by light, almost like special effects.
But it wasn't, though.
But yeah,
it wasn't supposed to
this
be.
is in my dream. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be. So I'm like, what the world's going on? You know, because black folks is scary.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we are.
We don't be playing. Yeah, we don't be, what is that? No, and I'm not going outside.
No,
yeah.
we don't.
But I was curious, so I was trying to figure out how it was glowing. I wanted to touch it. And right before I touch it, there was a loud scream, and there was a beast in front of me. And I'll never forget what he looked like. He had brown legs like a bear, black chest, really muscled up, almost like a He-Man type of muscle type guy.
Yeah.
And his arms were red. He had long black fingernails and had a fireman's axe in his hand. And his head was like a white guy, but he had salt and pepper, gray and black hair, one black horn, one white horn, and his eyes, it was just black, all black. And he shot me right across my chest. Boom. And he hit me so hard he knocked me out of my body. And I'm in the dream, and I'm standing on the side watching this guy cut me up.
Wow.
Now, I'm so afraid that without thinking, I'm calling on Jesus to help me. The cross starts glowing so bright that it blinded whatever that thing was. It scared it, and it ran through my front door, broke the door, and I'm going over there looking at my body. I'm freaking out.
Yeah, because you're still cut up in the dream.
Yeah, I'm cut all up, fingers and stuff all everywhere. My head's all bashed in. And then I hear this wind noise coming from the hallway. And I'm like, okay, what next? Because I'm wondering, like, am I alive or dead? I don't know how to explain this because I'm 15.
Yeah.
I would go around the corner, and my wall is transparent. There's a tornado inside of my wall, and it begins to separate. And as it separates, it starts to disappear. And there's a man sitting there. Perfect. His eyes, eyebrow, mustache, beard, hair was all identically the exact same color. Perfect. Every single strand looked like it was like.
This is still in the dream.
In the dream.
Okay.
And I'm standing like, a foot from him, just that close to his face.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything. He just, And it's weird because his clothes, he wasn't wearing regular clothes. He was like he was wearing clouds. His clothes were white, but they just faded off of him. It wasn't an end to it.
Okay.
And some kind of way, without walking forward, I was moving forward. I don't know if I was floating or if the room was moving. I wasn't doing anything. I just kept moving forward.
Right.
And I heard this voice speaking in the background. It got louder and louder and louder. And I came across, there was a big throne. There was a bunch of small little thrones that were there. And the voice on the throne called my name. And then pointed at one of the thrones for me to go forward.
William.
And I wanted to go forward, and
Yeah.
I couldn't. I was moving forward through white. It wasn't clouds. It was just white. I don't know how to explain it. And
So was
I
this
couldn't.
guy Jesus? Was it Jesus?
I think the man at the wall was Jesus, and I think God was on the throne, and I think that I couldn't get to that throne because I wasn't ready, because I wanted to go forward and I couldn't, and I kept pushing against the white, and I woke up. And when I woke up, I started praying to God, and I gave my life to God, and I made a promise. I said, I'm going to serve you. And I don't know where I got this from. I think it was like a commercial that says, try us for 40 days. You can know if something is right in 40 days. And I said, I'm going to give you 40 days. I'm going to do everything right. And I'm going to give you a real chance.
And you're 15, 16
15,
years old?
15.
Okay.
And when I tell you I went all in, I mean, I stopped listening to any kind of music except gospel music. I started staying away from my friends, any bad influences. I cut all that stuff off, but I wouldn't sell drugs. I just ride in the car with them when they went, because that was part of my thing I was in. But I was feeling convicted the whole time. And I was trying to talk them out of it. In those 40 days, right, I could only do it for a week. After a week, I couldn't do it no more. I was too convicted.
Yeah.
And so I begged him not to go, begged him not to go. And it was, I don't know if it was the first or second or third day that he went without me, right? 5 guys walked around and mowed down my mother's boyfriend. He got shot 6 times.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was my conversion experience. And I gave my life to Christ, and I committed myself to Christ. And when they called me on the phone and told me he was on the table fighting for his life, they told me he flatlined, and they don't think he gonna make it. So I got down and prayed and said, God, I've been dedicating myself to you for like 2 or 3 weeks, and you've done everything. I know that you can do this. Give me a chance to go and let him know about you. Please spare his life.
Yeah.
And then the next day they told me that miraculously his heart came back, and he started heart beating, and then he was back alive. And that boosted my faith so much that,
because you felt like you were almost responsible for your prayers were responsible for bringing him back.
Yeah. And so I was like, you can't tell me God wasn't real at that point.
Yeah, because this is still inside the 40 days.
Come on. Yeah, I was like, I'm learning some stuff that's like.
Okay, one more thing, because I'm about to forget. If you're ever looking for a roofing, drywall, remodeling, or tree removal service, you've got to call Alvarado Tree Service. Dude, they are so fast and so skilled at getting the job done, it's ridiculous. I've never seen people work this hard, this good, or this fast at being able to get the job done. Give them a call. They'll give you a free estimate on any project that you have. Here's a number. Write this down or put it in your phone. It's 865-585-8585. Again, real easy, 865-585-8585. Or visit goalvarado.com. Again, that's Alvarado Tree Service. Hit them up.
In my mind.
Yeah.
And so that was my conversion. That's how I came to Christ. And the first thing I did in the beginning was I stopped smoking, stopped drinking, all this kind of stuff. I had a girlfriend, I play house with, and I told her that, I got to change my life. I can't do this. And she was like, oh, it's okay.
That's a tough conversation.
It's okay.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do, I'll back you
I'll
up.
support you.
But she was a bad influence.
Yeah.
So I kicked her to the curb. I said, I can't do it no more. I can't do it. Broke her heart, man.
Wow.
Broke her heart. But I couldn't do it because I couldn't be in that environment and not, follow the bad behavior that I had. So it was that important to me. And then I went back to school. I begged them to let me back in, and I promised them, if y'all let me in, I would never miss a day of school.
Yeah.
And I never had an absence.
So
from
you quit
10th
school
grade,
and then they let you back in.
let me back in by the
Okay.
skin of my teeth. He told me, he said, you have an accumulative average over a year and a half of 56. He said, you're not going to graduate. Mr. Green, I never forget it, Principal Green. And but I went back. I went to school. I used that discipline to keep myself going.
Yeah.
And you know, I used that discipline instead of using it for my bitterness. I started using it for my betterness, and I graduated with honors by half a point. Yeah, never had an absent
Wow.
ever in school. Ever.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And then you hadn't looked back since.
Well, I kept going. I was scared to stop going to school because I didn't have any structure. And I felt like if I wasn't training to do something, my life didn't feel right.
Right.
You know, so I had to keep going. So I went to night school. You know, that's why it took me 14 years to get a doctorate.
Yeah.
I went to night school, and I went to all these different schools. Everywhere I went, I was in school. I was in the military in school. I was over here in school. This base, that base.
Okay, so what branch of the military were you in?
U.S. Navy.
U.S. Navy.
Yep,
Did
US
you do
Navy.
that right out of high school?
Right out of high school, I was supposed to go to New Mexico Military Academy, and Annapolis also gave me a pre-acceptance letter. I was graduating at 17. So I had joined ROTC, and I was craving that structure, and I went through the top, and I became the battalion commander, number one ROTC guy of the whole school. Yeah, I was the man. I was all decorated, and you know, I was really proud of that.
Wow.
Got ready to graduate. 6 weeks before I graduated, I got letters back telling me that since I'm graduating as a minor, they have to do a background check on my juvenile record. And guess what? They pull up all of the arrests and stuff. And not only did they tell me that that I was not going to be accepted, but they asked me, please do not try and apply again.
Oh my gosh.
I was devastated. But I didn't give up. I went and got a job, and I applied for other places, and then I wound up going to the Nuclear Engineering Academy in Florida, and then joining the Navy as a computer guy.
Yeah.
And then
So that's how you got into tech.
and that's how I got into tech world.
Okay.
And the Navy, I went to school at night. I went to seminary school and computer school at night, and I was always doing seminary and computer school, and I was doing counseling on the side. I was always volunteering for counseling, to help people with counseling all the time.
So talk about the counseling business, and because it's clear how you've gotten to be a part. It's clear your history has brought you to where you're helping people, and ever since I can remember, you've always been helping people. Just way more than the average person. And you know, hearing you, like, even now, like, this is some of the stuff this is my first time hearing. And I'm sitting here as you're talking, and I'm like, man, I can see exactly why this guy does some of the stuff that he does. So, you know, if I had to come up with a word for this segment right here, we call it the let's go moment. Like, you know, we'll edit this part out. I'm just kind of thinking through it. What would be, well, talk about, first of all, the mental health facility, because I want people to know, like, any time that I've had a conversation with you on any level, whether it's been encouragement, whether it's been motivation, I mean, you have always just been spot on in every single thing that you've said, from a spiritual advisor to a friend to I want people to know how they can plug in with you.
Well, I like putting people with resources, and so I've got multiple outlets that people can reach. So one of the facilities that we have is called Phila Health Systems, PHILA.
Okay.
It started out as Parents Helping Intercede in the Lives of Adolescents. When we acquired it in 2018, it was we changed it to People Helping Intercede in the Lives of All.
Right.
And so it's Phila, PHILA, healthsystems.org. If people go there, they can go put in a referral at any point in time if they want.
And they can get counseling of any type.
They can get counseling of any type. Does all outpatient counseling,
so addiction,
mental counseling, mental health,
marriage,
depression, anxiety. We have a lot of. We cover 30 counties in East Tennessee, not cities, but counties that have multiple cities in East Tennessee for DCS right now.
Okay, and then do you guys take like TennCare and
we take all the major insurances, Ambetter, Cigna, BCBS, even all the TennCare ones that other people don't take. We take all of those.
Okay,
and we have hardship programs. We even have a benevolence program. We have so many slots that come available every 4 months.
Right.
And if we have someone that has a legitimate need but they just don't have any insurance, we give them this letter that lets them know you're more important than your insurance card. You've been awarded this slot, and then they get free counseling.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
One of the things I was sitting there thinking as you were talking, you remember that time where we were working on Phila, and we were trying to get in network with Amerigroup.
Oh yeah.
And so me and you were on the phone on three-way with, or on the conference call with Amerigroup, and those of y'all who don't know Dr. Butler, the lady calls him, or we get on the phone with one of the ladies from Amerigroup, and she said, "Who am I speaking with?" And I said, "Well, my name is Marcus Sprague," and then Dr. Butler said, "Yeah, this is Dr. Butler." And she said, "Ooh, so you's a doctor."
There he goes.
I looked at him and I started cracking up.
He ain't never let me live that down ever.
Every time I see him around the corner, it's like, "Ooh, you's a doctor."
Every time.
And her raspy, cigarette smoking second alto voice, "You's a doctor." She kind of sounded like Ursula off the Little Mermaid.
It was pretty funny.
But we end up, figuring it out with them.
We figured it out. We wound up getting the contract, and it was really tough. Man, we went into business, started a mental health facility, and we just wanted to help people, and we wound up pouring all kind of money. We were working on the side, pouring money. I think we lost like $93,000 in the first year. We really meant well. We couldn't cut a break. Nobody would help us. We
Insurance wouldn't pay for
Insurance
nothing.
wouldn't pay. We're helping people, not getting paid for it.
We embarrassed to tell them we can't help you no more, so we just kept counseling them for free.
We did everything. We did all kind of stuff. We got donations. We did outreach. We even did selling goods and services and chocolate and stuff.
We were out there selling candy bars.
To help raise money so that we keep on helping people.
Keep the lights on.
It was crazy, but we wound up finding an opportunity that we could. Once we got started, we just built on it and built on it, and you always run into headaches with entrepreneurial activity. It's always you're investing, you get these headaches. Something pops up, somebody does something, you lose a license, somebody sue you, you have an accident,
worker
the place
quit.
kept on, worker quits, all that. You run into all those different things. And if you keep going and you just keep on doing CPR,
time.
I'm telling you, that dead fish gonna come alive. And it was a really big thing.
Yeah.
And so, it really helped us. And so we went from having a deficit of not really making any money.
Strong 14 to a
when we
strong 14 to how many people are you helping on a weekly basis now?
Right now our weekly roster has 280 people.
Lord have mercy.
And out of those 280, some of them are helped for months at a time. So we're going through about 800 a year now.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a really big deal, and we're fortunate because there's incomes that are coming in and helps and stuff. Right now the company's generating about $600K a year. Just Phila. Yeah. And now we got Butler Community Health.
Community Health. That's what I'm gonna say. So that's the next thing. Yeah. So Phila Health Systems has helped catapult. Butler Community Health. So talk about what you all do there. And that's also in Morristown, right?
That one also shares an office there as well. Butler Community Health more concentrates on intensive outpatient people who really need serious helps. Okay. We put the most serious people who really need attention into Butler Community Health, and that one focused on intensive outpatient. We also do peer support services, and we also do, just regular outpatient. Anything that you have a problem with that you don't have to stay overnight, Butler Community Health can cover you for. And that one has it's got a stricter policy base. Yeah. But it works really well, and that one actually covers all of East Tennessee as well. So we do have a location in Morristown. Phila is in Morristown, and also in North Carolina as well.
Right. So is there a phone number? I know you said the website. Is there also a phone number that people can call?
Yeah, they can call 423-616-0213, and just let them know what you need some help. Hey man, I need to talk to somebody. I've got issues. We got people that we do wealth management. We got classes. We do parenting classes. We do anger management classes. We do domestic violence classes. Yeah. We do all of that.
So here's something, because there's people right now that's listening who's hurt and depressed, broken, hopeless. What would your word of encouragement be to anyone that's in a situation listening right now and they're thinking, probably shouldn't get help, or I'll be all right? Like what would your, based on what you've been through, we're talking about overcoming hardships, what would your word of encouragement be for that?
Whenever you know that you have a sinking ship, any boat that's floating, you ask for help. And you got to know that when you're sinking, you're not going to get help inside of you. When you're at a point of despair, that means hopelessness. You don't have it. You got to reach outside of you to go get it. That's why we go to the grocery store. We got our fridge, but once it's empty, it's not going to fill up on its own. You got to go and get help and try it. That's the number one problem that we have with people that actually apply is they don't do their paperwork. You have to fill out that paperwork, or legally they won't allow these therapists to help you. And so you got to do that. Come in and get that help. Try it. Hear what they have questions, and say, man, this is where I am. I want help. I want to find out what works for people in my situation. If you come hungry, right, you're going to be filled. If you knock, the door going to be open. If you ask, you're going to receive.
And y'all help adults and kids.
Adults and kids. Anybody from 0 to 90.
Okay.
Yeah. So with the kids that are under 6, it's a package deal. We're really going to be helping the parent help the kid.
That's great.
So it's going to be a family. It's a mandatory parenting thing if they're under 6 years old.
Man, you've been preaching way better than I've been saying amen. The only thing we got to do is take up an offering.
Oh, man.
The doors of the church are now open.
Yeah, man. I'm just celebrating 15 years at Rock of Ages.
Man. All right.
Just past, 8 days ago.
So, pastor of Rock of Ages Baptist Church in Morristown, Tennessee.
Yep.
You've been there for 15 years.
Yep.
What's the church like over there? Like, what's the?
It's we have a multicultural church. When I got there, we only had like 12 or 14 people.
Strong 14.
And, yeah, I know, right? And we ballooned all the way out to like 160, and then and then we struggle with attendance after COVID, just like everybody else,
Yep.
And now about 85% of our church is run by youth and young adults. All of them are 30 and under, and they actually do most of the leg work in the church.
That's
so
great.
1/3 of our church is youth. 1/3 is like seniors.
Okay.
And then the other half is between 30 and 60. And we have an amazing amount of males. Normally it's like 10 to 15% men in a church.
Yeah.
Ours is half and half. Yeah, it's a weird dynamic. We've got about 60%, about 55 to 60% African American, about 30 to 35% Caucasian, and then we've got a lot of Latinos and stuff there, and a Micronesian family as well.
Yeah. Morristown is there's a lot of mix when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I heard someone say one time the whole world is just going to keep going till everybody's yellow.
Yeah, they actually think by 2050 that everybody's going to be caramel skin.
Wow.
All the new kids are going to be caramel skin. Yeah, it's crazy.
The sociologists, I think, call it the browning of America.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. That's a real thing.
It is, and the weird part about it is, if you study the biology of it, I'm a researcher, I can't help it. If you study biology, you'll find that now that they mapped the genome, DNA, they found that in DNA that all of humans were actually dark skinned and had brown eyes.
Wow.
Everything that wasn't dark skin and brown eyes was actually a defect and mutation. See? Yeah, so we've turned the defects and mutations into something beautiful.
Yeah.
But when you go to different places, right? So having blue eyes or green eyes or that was not something that was actually natively in our genome. It was a it's just, but now, no matter what the culture was, even the Chinese, they came from Africa, right?
Yeah.
They was just a different dialect. The Asians, they came from Africa. Everybody came from Africa.
If you put a picture of, we don't have to do it now, but if you looked at like a genuine African person, and then you looked at just a Chinese person, Asian person, they have the same facial features, and even I went to Hawaii, and the Samoans there look like black people. It just looked like mixed folks, but it looked like they've been in Africa at some point, just by the default of their facial features.
If they talk to any biologist, they'll tell you there is no such thing as race. It's except the human race.
Yeah.
All people are one DNA species, and we all come from the same branch, and they made it proved that mankind came from one person.
Man.
So yeah, it's actually proven. It's crazy, isn't it?
It is, man.
It's so if we would actually treat each other like we actually were part of each other, we probably get along a lot better on the planet.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
That's good stuff.
Well, man, we've got to get you back for another round 2 and round 3 and round 12 and 24. This conversation has been great, but man, it is just a drop in the bucket in terms of the type of stuff I want to pick your brain on down the road. And so, man, I'd love to definitely have you back for some more of this down the road. And man, it's been an awesome day today, bro.
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure, man.
Yeah.
If I can help in any way, I wanted to thank you, Marcus Bragg, for allowing me to be on the UNLEARNED podcast, and also for being my friend and awesome business partner over the years, and a great strategist when it comes down to things. Man, you have a gift for productivity and outreach and marketing as well, and it's been phenomenal to be able to watch you work over the years. And
man.
Yeah, I'm just really glad to be able to be here and just kind of just sit down and talk, man. I mean, to other people, they're like, oh man, this is like a thing, man. To me, we're just sitting down eating cereal.
This is eating cereal.
Just sitting down eating cereal.
Talking because we would have these type of conversations
all the time.
On the way to Morristown.
All the time. On the way.
Just doing a regular Monday.
Yeah, just sitting down, just on Monday, just talking,
Yeah.
sipping on some coffee or something.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and pray us out, brother, and we'll close this thing out. But again, man, been awesome, bro. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. All right, let's bow for a word of prayer.
Sir.
Lord, we want to thank you for all that you do and all that you are. We ask, Father, that you would bless all those who may check this podcast. Lord, we pray that lives will be impacted. People may be changed, transformed, helped in some way. We ask, Father, that you would bless this UNLEARNED podcast to impact many lives. Lord, protect it and allow it to be guided into the realms of greatness so that good things will be able to happen. And we ask these things in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right.